No, not again.
Welcome to Baby Boomer Tales. My name is Jim. You can find us at babyboomertales.com. Once you've arrived at our webpage, there are links to places you can hear our podcasts. You can shop at our Boomers General Store. You can contact us at babyboomertales@gmail.com. You can go to our YouTube channel. There's a link there. At that YouTube channel, there are podcasts plus our videos, plus the podcasts are in closed captioning. Thank you for riding along today. I'm recording this on a Monday. Yesterday was Sunday, and the wife and I went to church. Now, I haven't really gone many places since the big lockdown of 2020. Not that I don't dare go out or whatever, it's not that at all. It's just that I kind of got into a habit of not going anywhere. I like it at home. I don't have to go. I don't have to go out to a job or anything. We kind of got out of the habit of going to church. Several reasons. One, my wife retired from her job where she worked at a church that we raised our kids in. And we tried different churches around. And when the lockdown happened, we just kind of got in the habit of staying home. And that was okay. Another reason why we don't is totally because of me. My hearing has deteriorated. I did a podcast a couple years ago about hearing aids, and I've been told my cochlear is not getting any better, for lack of a way to describe it. And I do have more hearing issues. It's getting harder for me to understand what people say. It's the weirdest thing because I can hear them, I just can't understand them. So that's a challenge to carry on conversations. I'm always constantly adjusting my phone app for the hearing aids, and sometimes I can find a sweet spot there that it's okay, but it's a pain in the patoot. That's a fact. Anyway, so we haven't gone to church. I'm comfortable at home. I've become more and more reclusive all the time. I don't do things that are very good for me as far as hearing, but I wear hearing protection anymore. I wear these little headphones around the house, so the same headphones I use for my podcast, but I have a pair at my TV in the family room there that I listen to TV with, and that makes it so I can understand what they're saying on TV. But I can't wear these headphones out in public. I guess I could if I figured out how to get some kind of amplifier for it. But I'm comfortable just hanging around the house. I've got plenty of things to do here. I do the podcast in the Boomers General Store, so I try to make a little money doing that. In the wintertime, it's time for me to rest up, so I don't mind not going outside, because in the spring and summer and fall, I work a lot outside. We have some property out here, so I'm always mowing or cutting down a tree or lemon trees or maintaining my pond or weed eating or cleaning the chimney or all that, burning brush piles, you name it, I'm doing it out there. Fixing my tractor, trapping muskrats, trapping moles. So I like winter, I do. But I barely go out. I go to the grocery store once a week, and that's almost it, unless one of the grandkids have something we get to go to. I really don't go many places. Don't pal around with a lot of my old friends anymore for various reasons. Well, anyway, so last week I promised Kim that I would go to church with her, and she perked right up. And so yesterday we went. When we pulled into the parking lot there at church, got out, and we saw the pastor, his name is Chris, and his brother-in-law, whose name is Chris, walking into the church. Right when we got there, we were a little early. So I walked in, and there's my good friend Chuck. Now, Chuck is Chris's dad, the pastor's dad, and the other Chris is his son-in-law. So I was talking to Chuck and goofing around, and and Chris, the son-in-law, was standing over there. And I looked at him, he looked at me, and he said something. And so I says, "How you doing, Chris?" And then I distinctly heard him say, "What did you call me?" So let me give you a little backstory on this. As we were driving up to go to church, my wife was telling me how Chris and his family were in Orlando, and his wife, Hannah, is really good friends with my daughter, Allie, and my daughter, Allie's family was in Orlando at the same time. So I asked if they saw each other, and Kim said she didn't think so, and all that. So I walked over to Chris when he said, "What did you call me?" And as I was walking over there, and I know this guy, I was at his wedding. I've known his wife since she was a little girl. I've been to his home. I've been at family functions for his family on several occasions. I mean, I know him. There's no doubt that I don't know him. I do know Chris. But as I was walking across the lobby there to talk to him, because he said, "What did you call me?" And my brain started freaking out, thinking, that's not Chris, he's in Orlando. So it's, quick, who is this? Who is this guy? He looks familiar. I thought it was Chris, but it's obviously not Chris. So I walked up to him and I said something like, "How you doing?" And I gotta call this guy by name. I gotta let him know I know him. So I said, "Now you're Clara's husband, right?" Now as a little disclaimer and explanation of all this and why I said Clara's husband and who is Clara. Clara is his daughter. She got married 2 or 3 years ago. We went to their wedding. And he looked at me like I was crazy, because by that time I was going there, going to Crazy Town. And he said, "Clara is my daughter." Kind of forcefully. I mean, he wasn't mean or anything, and I was flabbergasted and I was struck like by lightning. And then I realized it was Chris, and I said, "Chris?" He goes, "Yes." I said, "I thought you were in Orlando." He said, "Well, we were in Orlando, but we're back." And so then I tried to make some jokes and try to talk myself out of it and kept digging a bigger hole for myself. And you know what they say, when you find yourself digging yourself into a hole, the first thing you should do is stop digging. But I forgot that advice and I kept digging, and I got deeper and deeper into the hole I was digging. And finally I just excused myself and walked away from him, and I'm sure he thought, wonder what he's been smoking, or something to that effect. I mean, we were in church, he probably didn't think that. But by that time I was wondering what I had smoked. So I retreated into the sanctuary and found my wife and sat down in a chair there, waited for the service to start, and I told my wife what had just happened. And she laughed at me and she said, "Chris didn't think anything about it." And I said, "Kim, I screwed up the whole thing." By this time, I was starting to feel like I was a crazy old man. Strictly a crazy old man. So you have to know Kim, the girl I married. Every once in a while, she gets into this mama bear protection mode, and she marched right out there and talked to Chris. Well, first of all, Chris never did say, "What did you call me?" I don't know what he said to me, but he did not say, "What did you call me?" Like, "Chump, what did you call me?" Yeah. Not any of that. Not any of that. He's a very nice guy. Yeah. And so, anyway, she came back, and by that time I was almost in a panic. I had embarrassed myself. I was feeling old. I looked down at the clothes I was wearing, and I could swear my waistband of my pants was up around my chest. Looked at my shoes, and they were Grandpa's shoes. Well, I just sat there, and sure enough, you know who sat right in front of me? Chris and his family. Oh my goodness gracious. Well, somehow I got through it. I got to see some good friends of mine there and talked and laughed and stuff. Talked to Chuck, Chris's father-in-law, on my way out. Got in the car and went over the whole thing again with my wife as we were driving home. I couldn't shake it. She told me I was being silly, that nobody thought anything about it. I said, I know. How could I have been that way? I know that guy. What in the world am I doing? Am I losing it? Am I losing it? She assured me that I wasn't. Well, all afternoon, depression tried to attack me, come upon me. Now I know who I am. I have never had any problem with self-worth or anything. But right at that time, I felt very, very old. It's the second time that's ever come upon me where I felt old and worthless and useless and a little crazy. The other time was when I was 64, I got fired from my job that I'd been at forever, and then trying to find a new job at 64, all of a sudden I had to do a little bit of looking in the mirror and realized that I wasn't that 40-year-old guy that could do anything I wanted anymore. At least not the way the world looked at me, or at least so I thought. I moped around. Later that day, my wife came into my office. I was sitting here thinking the best thing I can do is probably put a podcast together and get my mind off of this. And we started talking about it again, and I totally emotionally lost it. I saw no humor in it at all, and yet Kim thought it was a funny thing. Told me I ought to make a podcast about it. Everyone would have a chuckle, and I was a wreck. Well, today I am making a podcast about it, and I realize that 72 is not all that old. I need to start listening to myself when I'm on these podcasts, and I try to encourage someone out there to never give up, to see the sunny side of life, to hold on, it's going to get better, and all that stuff. Here I am trying to get into that and wallow in it a little bit myself. I refuse to do that. But now this is Monday and Sunday's over. I'll go back to church. I know I will. Those people up there are very nice, very kind. I have a lot of friends that go to that church up there. As you get older, the number of friends you have dwindles, but the quality of the ones that are left seems to grow stronger. Our song of the week this week is Tie Me Kangaroo Down Sport, written and recorded by Rolf Harris in 1957. In 1960, it became the number one song in Australia. In 1963, it became number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts in the U.S. It's about a dying Australian stockman that's instructing his friends how to take care of his affairs after he is gone. In the late 80s, it was a theme song for WWF wrestler Outback Jack as he entered the ring. Tan me hide when I'm dead, Fred. Tan me hide when I'm dead. We have a good following in Australia and New Zealand. And as I was picking the song for the Song of the Week, I remembered all those good folks that listen to this podcast. And I want to say thank you. Our unusual fact this week: banging your head against the wall for 1 hour burns 150 calories. That's what I was doing yesterday. An easier and faster way to burn 150 calories is take your dog for a 45-minute walk. Same effects, you won't have a headache afterwards. Thank you for joining us today. It's always a privilege to spend some time with you every week. Always be kind everywhere you go, to everyone you encounter. I'll be back next Wednesday. Peace out.
Jim, Are you okay?